How'd you get down the race?
I'm hot too.
Yeah.
I tell you a funny thing. In all the years that I played, no one ever pulled my hair.
Gee,
Tommy Alban would have got his pulled a few times.
Yeah.
Well, I got Tommy one day, but I didn't mean it. Yeah, because he had it hanging down the back.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it started you, but you were too quick to grab the hair.
Yeah, but no one actually. But I tell you a funny couple of little stories.
I've got to take this off. I am boiling. I am dead set boiling.
I used to sometimes get flies. And they'd get stuck in there, you know, and they'd be buzzing around, and you'd be hearing them and thinking, shit, you know, you'd be trying to pick them out. Seriously.
You think it flies?
They'd get stuck in there.
Well, if it was
nowadays,
nowadays, you could have your personal trainer run out with a fly spray. Yeah, you'd be right there,
how
Vinny.
did you get down to Carlton? Where did it all start for you? Where did you come from?
Just played locally in the local park there with Princess Hill. It was a junior club, and the scouts in those days used to just come and watch you play before the Carlton game and just sort of sent you a letter to train with the under-19s, you know. But my mum and dad lived right across the road from the ground, still to this day, and that's where I was brought up. But never once did I ever think about playing for Carlton.
So it was like a Paul Meldrum who walked out. He went to Princess Hill, didn't he?
That's
and he just
right.
walked across the road and asked, could I play? And
yeah, exactly.
But you were drafted to the under-9 or picked to go play
Yeah,
under-19.
used to go and play in the 19s.
Did you play the whole season, the year, won the medal with them, or what happened?
Yeah, I played. Was it about probably? I played four games in the reserve, so maybe 16 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did they take you up from after winning the medal? Were you then one of the celebrities and said, "Oh, look after this Vinny, we've got to bunk him up into the seniors or something"?
I can't do this, Bob. Sorry, I can't sit next to Doug with that. I'll laugh every time he turns around.
No, I don't think so, Bob.
No?
No, I had to earn your spot.
You had to earn your spot.
Yeah,
It was a tough spot to earn too, wasn't it? Because you had Kenny Sheldon, you had Rod Ashman, Alex Marcoux, there was Armstrong was there, Jimmy Buckley was there. It was pretty tough to break in the mosquito fleet down at Carlton.
Yeah. There's about probably 6 or 7 of us, so it's only probably 3 or 4 get a game each week, so it's pretty hard.
Well, let me just make a prediction to you here now. We just mentioned Kenny Sheldon. Kenny Sheldon's boy will be the next superstar.
Oh,
Kenny
really?
Sheldon, little bloke.
Where's he playing, Bob?
He's playing about the under 16, just at the men or something. Just keep your eye on
Keep your eye on
Kenny
Sheldon.
Sheldon's boy. He can play
He
football.
can play.
Yeah.
What about your
That's good
nicknames?
news.
Did you have a few nicknames there, Vinny?
Yeah, I had the cat and the spinner.
The cat. Where did you get the
Catoggio.
cat?
Oh, well, just the
Yeah.
cat.
Catoggio. It's just the first 3 letters of his surname.
Now, if you take that off, mate, you might think clearer.
How'd you get spinner then?
Well, actually, Curly Austin named me spinner.
Did he?
Yeah, he reckons one day I was playing in the reserves, and he reckons that the ball landed in the square, and I picked it up. And he says I balked and weaved and dodged and a couple side
Did a
turns
couple of spins.
and kicked the goal. And he says the only thing was there was no one in the square. By myself.
So you did have an afro, didn't you?
Let's have a look at this afro. Here's Vinny Catoggio playing with Carlton.
What have we
I'd
got
like
here,
to point out some of your teammates too. Look at that for a haircut. That's magnificent.
Too quick.
That come from McClure, and there's Big Well Jones in the goal square. A pretty strong side back in there, those days,
Look
Vin.
at that.
Spin.
Oh, great pickup.
Did you ever think about passing this one, Vin?
No way.
Did you ever think about passing it, Vin?
Learn from Kevin.
Vin, your very first full game was in the 1973 grand final. Now, my memory is that Carlton had a few injuries leading to that grand final. I think Armstrong might have got appendicitis and couldn't play in the grand final, and there was a couple of others out as well. And all of a sudden, Vin Catoggio was playing his first full game. What was it like thinking, well, I'm running out onto the ground? Back in those days, of course, once you were selected in the side, you were in the side, so there you were starting on the ground in a grand final.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's the goal of the day, Kevin. Look at this.
Yeah.
Was this a great thing?
I haven't seen this
Dennis
one.
Collins over to...
This would have been on World of Sport, Bob. You'd
Yeah, that's
the
right.
goal
I
of the day in
probably
those
picked
days.
that.
Oh, the way he steps plays.
That was cat-like.
Jeez, I don't think I even done anything for that one.
What about that 73 grand final? What was your thoughts going into that game?
Well, I'll tell you something, Kevin. I played in a final with the reserves, the first week of the finals, and I did had a corky. So I went to training, got some medical help, and the seniors were training. So basically, my season was over, and I was just there watching. And I recovered about a week later, and so I hadn't trained. And they just said to me, "Look, you might as well train with the seniors to get some experience. It'd be great because you know all that sort of stuff." I said, "Okay." So I just trained with the seniors, and they played, I think, in the prelim, and you know, I was going out and doing my normal stuff and just going there and training. It wasn't until Thursday night that Trevor Keogh pulled a hammy on the Thursday night training. And as you said, Barry Armstrong, I think, had his appendix out the week before. And someone, I think it was Keith McKenzie, grabbed me and said, "Listen," he said, "we've got a few injuries, you know. If you train all right tonight, you might get a
There's
game."
a chance.
And I thought, "Oh, you're gagging." I just couldn't believe it. I said, so I just trained as normal and got picked. You know?
Went home across the road to mum and dad's, knocked on the door and said, "Guess what, I'm in the grand final."
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was like, you know. It was just, I just couldn't believe it. So I wasn't expecting even, I mean, my season was over.
Did your mum and dad, were they football followers at all or not? With a name like Catoggio?
Not my mother. She wasn't a real football follower. My dad was, but my mother as a kid, she didn't let me play footy, you know. You know, Italian, you know. She used to hide me boots and threaten. And actually, I loved it that much when I was 16. I played on a Sunday, but I never told her. I played Saturday morning, and then I used to sneak out and play Sunday afternoon with Carlton YCW. But the only thing was I had to have a big plate of spaghetti at lunchtime, you know, and I'd hide all my gear. About 1 o'clock I'd say, "Oh look, I'm going out to play," you know. I'd grab my boots and I'd run, you know.
Yeah, right.
I'd go and play footy, and I'd get back about 5 o'clock and just make out I'd been out playing.
You come back with a broken nose. I only got that on a kid in the park.
But I did that for a whole season.
Did you?
Yeah.
How about
She found out about it in November.
That is sensational, eh?
Yeah, she found out, someone said to her, "Oh, your son, he's not
He can play a bit, Vinny."
Yeah, and she said, "Oh, yeah, he plays." "Oh, no, he plays with Carlton YCW." She says, "Oh, I didn't know that."
There's plays in the paper.
Must be someone who's that, a namesake from the country, the old country. What about 1973? Because after that, even that grand final, Carlton people sort of saw you in a light which I thought was really unfair. And you know, we were talking to Warwick Irwin before about playing in Collingwood's losing grand final.
Yeah.
How did you think you were perceived from Carlton people after that grand final?
Oh, I suppose I was looked at as Pond as one of the guys that didn't do anything in that game, and they might have held it against me because the following year I never played a senior game.
So you were still on the senior list, but never.
No, never
played.
played.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't play a senior game in '74.
Did you play well in the reserves?
Yeah, I think I finished second in the Morris Medal.
And they couldn't push up. They couldn't push up.
Gardner
In the Gardner Medal.
Gardner Medal.
Yeah.
But it would have been pretty tough for any supporter to be crook on a guy playing his first full game in
I
AFL
know
football.
that.
He's been
You know
thrust
that.
into a grand
We know
final.
that,
I mean, surely they didn't expect a lot from a first gamer, so to speak.
Yeah,
But they must have.
Well,
Some did.
that enigma stuck for a little while. Yeah, I sort of felt it for a while, but once I started playing regular scenes, you know, it's like when you do anything, you need experience, you know.
Yeah.
Just to get out there.
Just
and
to go
see
out and look at the crowd.
I'd never been out on a proper game.
No.
I'd never started in a proper game, and all of a sudden here I am starting off, you know, in the forward pocket in a grand final.
90,000 people or something like that.
Just didn't know what to expect, you know. I think these days the under-18s they groom them, you know, and they get a bit more. There's a bit more knowledge here for them, but you're just sort of thrown out there. And I played on Kevin. I mean, Kevin. You know, I think the night before or a couple of nights before, I was flicking through footy cards, and Kevin was one of my heroes. You know,
Playing on him.
yeah, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm playing
Picked to decide to play in the grand final.
and all I remember is it's true, Kevin. I remember being near you at one stage, and you took off, and I tried to chase you, and I couldn't believe how quick he was. Yeah, and I thought I was fairly quick.
You're very quick.
And I just thought, geez, I can't keep near him. He was going away from me, bouncing the ball.
Well, that was in your forward pocket where he should have been defending you. He just nicked off. He was cheating. That's called cheating, Ben.
We spoke to Warwick Gurn about the number of coaches that he had at Fitzroy. You went through a few coaches too at Carlton. There was a time there where it was a pretty unsettled club.
Yeah, I started off with John Nichols. Then we had Serge Silvani for a couple of weeks, Thorogood. We had
Ian Stewart turned up.
Ian Stewart for about 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Then we had Jezza,
yeah.
and then we had Jonesy,
Yeah.
and then Parkin came along. So there's a few there.
It's about 5, 6 years.
Yeah, but when I first started, I suppose you always remember your first best on the ground, you know, and I remember getting the best on the ground against St Kilda at Moorabbin, and John Nichols was coach at the time. And I remember we went to a hotel afterwards, and he grabbed me and he said, you know, that best on the ground, it's worth 3 games to you, you know. So it was fantastic to know that you were going to play for the next 3 weeks. You know?
It's worth 3 games, best on ground.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said it's worth 3 games.
How'd
to
you play in the 3 games?
Actually, I played well.
You kept
Were that
up.
confident?
Yeah, well, the next week I went out and I remember playing well and getting a vote against, you know, Hawthorn, I think it was. And
But you had a cult following, didn't you, Vinny? I mean, at Carlton. I mean, the supporters, they loved you.
yeah,
Is that a fair call?
yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. I mean, I was pretty nice to all of them.
Yeah.
And they were pretty nice back to me, you know. But
Well, now,
it was
has
nice.
football been? Is football been good to you, Vin? Are you still remembered? You know, how's it feel like that? Has it done something for your life?
Yeah, look, I'm probably pretty privileged. I mean, people still remember me.
Yeah.
But I didn't play a lot of games, you know. And I didn't sort of play in any winning grand finals or play for Victoria. But it's nice to be remembered. You know?
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. That's what the game's all about.
We'll take a break and we'll come back and Vin Catoggio, of course, has joined us on the couch. The cat, of
Yeah,
course.
there he is.
There he is. There.
We got
This
a
is-
twin at each
That's
end.
what he would look like if, in fact, we had kept the famous hairdo from those playing days. We'll come back and we'll have a chat to Vinny because he did leave Carlton, went across to Western Australia and then came back and also played AFL football for 2 other clubs. Coming back with Vin Catoggio, Grumpy Old Men.
It downfield. Past Buckley it goes. Serafini and Galt contest and Serafini wins it in pace. Cannot pick it up. Picked up by Catoggio. Catoggio's off. Out he goes. He'll run in and bang.
Oh, what a beauty.
Well, a lot of those goals of the day, Bobby. You would have been picking those in World of Sport back in those days.
How would Vinny been if he'd have like Graham Farmer? Not Graham Farmer, the little fella that plays for...
Jeff Farmer.
Jeff Farmer. You could have stopped right in the goal line and said, oh, is he near me? And just kick it through, yeah. What do you think of the fella that does that? Well, that's happened twice now, hasn't it?
Yeah, they do.
Starting to get a bit desperate, that business.
I reckon it comes back to you.
Yeah,
Comes back to haunt you.
that's right. Yeah.
I reckon you'll end up playing.
You're going to get pulled over 1 minute and miss it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Vin, you left Carlton and went across to play in Subiaco. What was the story behind that and then came back and played at Carlton again?
Yeah. The reason for that, Kevin, was I was playing very well in the reserves, and Mike Fitzpatrick said to me at one stage, you're never going to improve by staying in the reserves. You need to play against men. And you know, if you can't get a game here, he said, I suggest you go to sort of Western Australia, good standard football. You'll play against big bodies, and you know, that'll improve you. So I thought about that, and I thought, well, geez, you know, I'm struggling to get a game because we're such a good side. And unfortunately, some of the guys, you know, used to get 3 or 4 chances, you know, and if you know, I got to go 1 chance and you were drop type thing, you know. Some of the guys are allowed to play 4 or 5 bad.
It's an amazing thing because Phil Manasseh said that the other day, didn't he?
Yeah, the other week.
He said, I had to be at my best every day to keep in the team, and if I wasn't, I was out. He said, I got sick and tired of having to really struggle, whereas
hard, yeah.
some other mates of the coach, he said, just used to get a game.
Well, I'll tell you something, Bob, that's 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I mean, I remember one time I had 5 bests on the grounds in a row in the reserves.
Yeah, and couldn't make it.
And couldn't get a game in the seniors, and the seniors were getting beaten.
Yeah.
Before we talk about your Western Australia experience, did anybody offer you a job, come to you and say, Vin Catoggio, come to our club in Melbourne? Before you went over there, you had a couple of
Oh,
offers?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
why
I
wouldn't
had
you?
an offer from Collingwood.
Oh, geez, I'm glad you didn't come there. Here's another one.
The Bulldogs chased you.
Yeah, they did
Bulldogs
too.
had a
So
Yeah,
why
that's
wouldn't you have
right.
gone to a club like
Bulldogs had
that?
a
It
crack.
just didn't. So you didn't want to leave Carlton?
No, I'll tell you honestly, I was thinking about going to Collingwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to Tommy Hafey,
Right.
and when I went to see Wes Lofts, I said, look, you know, I want to leave. And he said to me, as long as
It's not Collingwood.
Yeah.
He said, as long as my ass points to
Points
the
to that. That's right. You'll be
You're not going to
you
Collingwood.
will never play for Collingwood. And that's gospel.
Well, you weren't getting the game at Carl. That didn't make sense, did it?
Yeah.
Just his hatred of Collingwood.
Yeah, exactly.
Did they clear you to the Western Australia? Did you get a clearance or how's it work?
No, I got
Leased,
leased.
yeah.
I
Leased
get
over
leased
there.
back in those days.
Yeah, got leased over there for 18 months. And I got, the first year I was there, played 9 games, got 10 votes in the Sandover medal. And I think I come third in the best and fairest. Had a good
Was
year the second
Subi
year.
Mike Fitzpatrick's club?
It
Yes.
was, yeah.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, he organised the
the
deal
whole
over
thing,
there
yeah.
for me.
Who was coaching?
Brian Dooge from
Hawthorn.
yeah,
Yes,
Hawthorn,
okay.
He was fantastic, Brian. And
And did Subi have a great time? Were you up in the finals? Or
no, we weren't in the finals.
No?
But look, there was some fantastic footballers.
Yeah.
Ross Glendinning was playing, Jimmy Cracker, Kenny Hunter, Vasasto, Wiley.
Gee,
Had a fantastic, they were fantastic players, good sides. Those guys all come over probably in the next
the
couple
Western
of years.
Australian National Football League was a tremendous breeding ground for footballers, wasn't it?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And did you come back a better player and more confident, as Mike Fitzpatrick had suggested to you, go across and get some confidence, play a lot of senior football, and then obviously Carlton said, well, we think that we've got a spot for you now, so come back.
Yeah, well, actually, Brian Dooge was the coach. He said to me at the end of the year, he said, look, you better go back home. He said, because I think you're ready to play over there. So, I went back to Carlton, trained the pre-season, and then played the first game of the season against Richmond. And I think that year, I think I might have finished 4th in the best and fairest at Carlton. So
How old were you, Vinny, then? How old were you when you come back?
Probably about 22, I'd
22,
say. 22,
yeah. Still young.
22, 23, I'd say.
Had anything changed in the landscape? As in, had some of the mosquito fleet moved on, or had injuries to give you that, or you had just become better yourself?
Yeah, I was just more confident. Yeah, I was probably looked at Keogh and Armstrong as a little bit better than me when I left. But when I came back, I thought I could just about
Yeah, you're at that level.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
But
So
they're
what
still
happened
great
then, Vinny,
players.
because you finally went to Melbourne and then also went to Sydney?
Yeah, I went to Melbourne in 1981 and played about eight or 9 games there. Had a lot of injuries, and it was a culture shock. Going
Who was
from,
coaching Melbourne?
Barassi.
Rass.
It was a culture shock going from a top club to a bottom club, and just the skill level, just the support base, and I was wondering where I'd gone to. I thought, geez, this is unbelievable. And having so many good players around you at Carlton, it's so hard when you went to Melbourne. Not the blokes, but just the skill level wasn't there, and it was a lot harder to get a kick. And
Did anyone ever sledge you, the opposition, about your hairdo? Is there any standout player?
Not really.
No one had a crack?
No, not really. No.
Didn't get any...
That's because we all wanted to have that hairdo. Don't we wanted to have the afro?
Yeah, not really. No,
No one give you a spray?
No, not really. Oh, you might have got a few.
Couple little comments?
Yeah, a couple, but I think once you... I think the Shoreys always used to say something.
I don't know why that would happen. Like I said, I didn't grab you by the ear because I couldn't catch you.
And the Sydney experiment lasted just a short time?
I was there for a year. Yeah, just flew up every second week to play, and that was good. It was good fun.
Who was coaching Sydney? John Northey, was he?
No, Quaid.
Oh, Ricky Quaid.
Ricky Quaid.
Doc, he wasn't there yet then, was he?
No, he was there the following
year.
Yeah, that was a good experience. I think it was maybe their second year there, second or third year. But it was good experience. Played about 9, 10 games over there. So
Now, these days, you're a painter.
that's right.
Rembrandt.
Yes.
Not on canvas.
Not on canvas, no. Actually, I'm just working at the Melburnian at the moment, just around the corner in St Kilda Road there. So keeps you busy.
You read out my Diamond Valley way too, mate? You're living out that way?
Yes, yeah. Got a couple of kids playing at
good on you.
St Mary's. And
Good club.
yeah, great club.
Vin, I was thrilled when they said you were coming on because it meant, Bobby, that I could have hair for the first time in about 35 years, and it just gave us a bit of an indication of what it was like.
Well, they reckon-
Vin Catoggio back playing those days at Carlton, all those lovely Blues
They loved him,
supporters
kid, didn't they?
yelling out,
Yeah.
they loved us.
I reckon I had to
Vin
change my
Catoggio.
hairstyle someday. I've had so many times.
Vin, thanks for joining us on
Yeah.
Grumpy Old Man. It's great to
Yeah.
catch up with
Thanks.
one of the real great characters of AFL footy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you next week on Grumpy Old Man when we look back to the good old days of AFL football. We may not have another Vin Catoggio, but I tell you what, we're just loving on Grumpy Old Man.